Okay.
Yay. Oh my gosh.
We figured it out, Jessica.
Yay. Just like moms, we get it done. Yes, tough like a mother. Absolutely. So I'm going to introduce myself and then I'm going to introduce you and we will chat. So I'm Jessica. I'm the head of membership for the Maternal Health and Wellness Network. And this is going to be on our Facebook, probably on our Instagram, definitely on our YouTube. And we are chatting today with Shelby Roberts from Eastern North Carolina in Goldsboro. And Shelby is a PMAD survivor, which is why we're chatting with her this month for Maternal Mental Health Month. And she's also a PSI peer mentor. That's a new program that PSI's got going on. And she's a military spouse, which is also why she's here, because military families are way more likely to be affected by a perinatal mood and anxiety disorder. So I'm going to let her tell us a little bit about herself. So, yay! So glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm Shelby Roberts, and I am a mama of two little girls, two very feisty little girls. And I have an 8-year-old and a 3.5-year-old. I
Fun.
Postpartum anxiety and depression with both of them. And it was really hard. With our first daughter, we were very far away from family. Obviously, with it being my first child, I had no idea what I was doing. I thought I did, but I quickly realized I didn't. And I went and eventually found a primary care doctor to talk to about what I was feeling. And I was able to kind of figure out what was going on with me. And he was fantastic and helped me realize that it was nothing wrong with me. It was something that was just a chemical imbalance in my brain. And it was something that I could easily work through. Well, not easily. It took a lot of time to work through. But it was something that I could get through. With our second, I was super anxious when I was pregnant that I was going to go through all of that again. Lo and behold, about 4 days in, I had the worst postpartum anxiety of my life. And I reached out to my new doctor who was here, and I said, I need something right away. Because I didn't feel like I could get through the day. And so thankfully, I'm still here, and we're still, trying to bring as much awareness to perinatal mood disorders as possible.
Absolutely. So, as a mom myself and multiple children, I have 3 boys, you have 2 girls. So, and, being pregnant around the same times as well, I knew something wasn't right. But how did you know? Like, was your primary care educated in, or, did you look at something online? How did you know that is what was going on with you?
So with my first, I had absolutely no idea. And I knew something was wrong because I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I knew this was not normal, but I just knew about the baby blues. I didn't really know. I know they had touched on it in the birthing classes, but I really didn't have any other information. And it took me 3 months to go see my doctor. So I was suffering with those feelings for 3 months. And oh, by the way, in that time, we moved when she was 4 weeks old to our new location. And so that was hard. it was just, military spouse life. It was, you have to kind of pretend like you have to suck up and deal with it. And it was really hard. With my second, I knew something was wrong right away, like I said. And with it being a small town, it was really hard to find those resources. And so I just got online and found Postpartum Support International's website, and I got a lot of information from there. And that kind of helped me go to my base provider. And thankfully, like, the stars aligned. She was an amazing flight doc, and she was very well aware of perinatal mood disorders. And she got me connected with some resources locally that really helped. So thankfully she was there. And that's very rare, though. Not many spouses really receive that. They don't have that opportunity to have someone that you can go to right away and knows what's going on. They kind of look at you like you have two heads. So it was a unique experience.
Yeah. I, with being a PSI coordinator, I have Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point and New River and Seymour Johnson, all of those military places. And I have found that if I have someone reach out, finding someone who takes TRICARE is super difficult. And you would think, as Camp Lejeune is huge. It's way bigger than Seymour Johnson. Jacksonville, I think, is bigger than Goldsboro. And you would think that people in, those areas would take, TRICARE. But there's so many hoops to jump through. And can you tell me why, military spouses are, I believe, 4 times more likely to have twice as likely. Okay. So twice as likely to have or develop a perinatal mood and anxiety disorder. Can you tell me why that is, or your theory on, hey, this is how military life works and this is how it plays into PMADS?
So we have a fairly unique lifestyle. I personally, my husband is gone pretty much all day. After the birth of our first child, he was commuting an hour each way to work, and we literally wouldn't see him from the moment our daughter would wake up until she was already in bed at night. And so that whole day, not to mention she was a colicky baby, and I was convinced she hated him. And so that was extremely difficult. And, we moved when she was 4 weeks old. The military doesn't really care when you move. I know there's people that have moved closer to the birth. So we have a unique kind of lifestyle where we are mobile a lot. We move every 2 to 3 years. That is not just uprooting your family, but you uproot everything of your lifestyle. You have to find new doctors. You have to find new therapists. You have to start the whole process of getting your medicine again. Not to mention deployments. Like, we are still technically at war, and we've been at war for the past 20 years. And so it's been crazy to think that we are still dealing with deployments. And, deployments are anywhere from 3 months to over a year. So we do have a unique lifestyle. But it's not to say it's all bad either. the family connections that you make with people that are friends, or even new neighbors. You're like, hey, I don't know you, but can you be my kid's emergency contact? Like, I know you have to build that trust with people that you just meet, and it's interesting.
Yeah. So I have a friend, we went to baby school together. That's where we met in childbirth ed class. And she was friends with a good friend of mine. And her husband is in the Air Force. They're in Vegas now, but they were in Goldsboro. And she was overdue. Wasn't Brittany overdue? Yeah. Or it's close, somewhere around her due date. And her husband was being deployed like immediately. So she was induced, in order for her husband to be there for the birth of their child. And she was also without her husband for the first, several months, if not a year. I don't exactly remember how long.
And
And as in,
unfortunately, that's a normal thing for some military spouses. They try everything they can to get your spouse home, but if they are downrange, then you are kind of on your own, or you are without your spouse. You aren't on your own ever, because you have your built
yeah,
community. But it's very it's not rare to say that there's been moms that have birthed alone or without their spouse there. So yeah, I can imagine it's very, very difficult.
yeah. And, so we obviously know this is a very special situation and with special circumstances. I feel like that there are probably special resources out there for military families. So can you tell us about, you know, some places that people can look for those resources?
So we are at Seymour Johnson. It's pretty unique in that we have, like I said, we have a very small community, but we have a very big community of advocates for perinatal mood disorders in Goldsboro and the surrounding areas.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've worked really hard to kind of get the word out there amongst military spouses that it's okay to not, have that stereotypical everything's perfect, just deal with it attitude. The base has chaplain services that you can go to and talk for free, and they can connect you with resources. They have military and family life counselors, or MFLAC, I believe it's like 5 free counseling services, and it's all anonymous. They write nothing down. They will meet you wherever you want to meet, and it's great. There could be more, though.
Yeah.
So the current leadership on base has been very receptive to getting more resources out there for military spouses. And it's been really, really awesome to kind of see things start. So
Yeah. I know, Memorial Day is this weekend, this Monday coming up. So it's kind of timely that we're talking about this, coming up to that time as well. And I think that a lot of us don't realize that it's not just the person in the military that is sacrificing, their lives, their livelihood, all of this, putting on the line. It's the spouses, the children, the families, everybody. And I got chill bumps. Like, it's so important for us to uplift, families in general, but especially those who knowingly go into this. Like you said, we've been at war for 20 years. That's you're signing up to go somewhere.
yeah.
And so thank you for that, for signing up. and also for what you do with advocacy on the base and for moms. I want to talk a little bit about that too. So obviously your journey with PMADS, has kind of led you into what you're doing now. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So we, again, small town Goldsboro, we have a really great military affairs committee, and they are just local community businesses, all sorts of amazing people that celebrate military families and meet them, come to the, reach out to them, and talk. And I was at one of the MAC events a couple years ago, and I met Jamie J. Berg, who is the CEO of Wayne UNC. And we just got talking for probably like an hour about the way things are with military spouses and perinatal mood disorders. And a few months later, I started working at Wayne UNC as a women's services community liaison. And I work between the base and the hospital, to try to get more women's services. Obviously right now with COVID and everything like that, it's extremely difficult. So I'm not currently at the hospital right now, but it was an amazing opportunity to kind of bridge the hospital aspect and the military aspect, and try to get more services for military spouses. And, I hope we continue to do that. And it's been an exciting ride so far, and hopefully we can continue.
Yeah. So when I first came across your name, I was a childbirth educator with the Partnership for Children of Wayne County. And I, was looking at resources for my moms and found this Climb Out of the Darkness. I think it had already happened maybe. And so that's where I first saw your name in association with PSI. So can you tell us a little bit about what you are doing with them, or, with us now, I guess, because I'm PSI too. So
long story short, I had she's 3.5 now. I had Caroline in November of 2016. I was reached out to, after doing some advocacy work with PSI, by Carrie Banks, who was like, hey, we don't have a lot of participation from North Carolina. Would you be open to maybe leading a climb? And so this was maybe the end of May of 2017. And so I had 2 weeks to kind of throw something together. It was basically family. That kind of felt pity for me. But we had our first climb event, and we built, for the next 2 years, we built up our climb events to basically team Southeast North Carolina. And this year was a little different, thanks to COVID again.
Yeah.
Where we couldn't host in-person events. So it kind of, this year wasn't so great. But hopefully next year we can come back even stronger. But yeah, so Climb Out of the Darkness is PSI's fundraising event. And we basically just advocate. The community comes together to advocate for perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, for the moms who are suffering, or the families that are suffering with mom. We raise awareness. It's typically around the summer solstice, which is the brightest day of the year. So it's an amazing, fun community event. We usually get a lot of participation. So we'll try again next year.
Yeah. Well, last year was awesome. With the fundraising and things like that. I think we did pretty good. as far as the moolah,
Yeah.
in raising money. And what I really love about that is that it stays in our state and, helps people, with like scholarships, with being trained and things like that. You mentioned, Carrie contacting you, and hey, there's not a lot of stuff going on in Eastern North Carolina. Bless Carrie's heart. I know she,
I love
she's,
Terry.
yeah, me too. So, but now, I just think about it, how just a few years ago there wasn't a lot going on in Goldsboro, and now it's literally like a hot spot for
It's funny because,
PMAD.
there never wasn't advocacy going on. It just was
Mhm.
kind of people working their own way, and really it's just been fun to bring those pieces together to kind of create one big community resource to get moms and their families support during this really challenging time. So it's been amazing.
Mhm.
Obviously, you are also an amazing advocate
Mm,
and
thank
resource
you.
as well. You can pat your back.
Yay me. And that's where I started, was Goldsboro. That's where I had my babies, and a lot of my mom friends were there, and doula clients and people like that. And also, if I have a mom in Duplin County, because we don't have a lot of resources here, I've sent people to like, Regina Gurley, with UNC psychiatry. Love Regina. Um, Waynesboro, they have the walk-in clinic where you can walk in and be seen that day. There's several support groups that are now thankfully online. So that's really cool. And so thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. And so, if you were to have any advice, like a piece of advice for a military spouse dealing with this, what would it be? What would you say to her?
To really speak up and be the voice, because you never know, there might be someone else who's suffering that's too afraid to talk about it. And that's kind of, I've been reached out to a lot by military spouses. And that was a thing. They were just like, I was just a little too scared to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want to rock the boat. And so it's just talking about it, really. Talk amongst your friends, talk to your provider, talk to your therapist, talk to whoever will listen, really. And talk really
Mm-hmm.
loud. So
Yes.
listen. So yeah, I mean, that's probably my number one advice, is just reach out for support if you need it. And just keep going for the next girl, or the next family. So just
Absolutely.
awareness, because there's always someone that's going to be going through it. So, but thank
Yeah.
you so much for
Awesome.
having me. And I'm so
You're welcome.
very, very honored to be a part of this community with you.
Yay. Me too. I can't look back on my situations where, I didn't know about it, or I was too afraid, to speak out, or when I finally did, ask, it wasn't received well and all that stuff. I can't look back on those times as negative, because if that would not have happened, I would not be who I am today and where I am today, and have the relationships that I do and all of this. So I'm thankful for it. As weird as that sounds,
no,
I'm sure you are too, because it's put you where you are today too.
I never
Yeah.
knew what I wanted
Awesome.
to do when I
All
was
right.
so, and this
I
is
know. And here we are.
so it's kind of, it was tough to get through, but it's been a journey, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you.